Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on FPL Now. Today we're going to be going over a wildcard draft for game week 24. So if you're excited for the video, as always, make sure to drop a like down below. Let's try and hit 50 likes. Leave a comment. Are you wildcarding this week? A lot of people are, to get Salah back in. Let me know. Subscribe if you're brand new. Ring the notification bell. With all of that out of the way though, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you enjoy. So, starting things off, this is the wildcard draft that I've come up with at this point in time. As you can see, there's still 3 spots that are yet to be filled in, and that's because there's just a number of different directions you can go with wildcard drafts this week. I've kind of put like a template out here with players that I feel like a lot of people are going to have in their team when wildcarding, and then the rest you could just fill with differentials. You could go big up front, you could go big up the back, or you could go big in midfield. So this is the sort of template that I've gone with. De Gea and Foster in goal. De Gea is there because they've got some really favourable fixtures coming up over the next 4 game weeks, being Burnley away, Southampton at home, Leeds away, and then Watford at home. And as well as that, there's the increasingly likely situation that United do double in 25 with Southampton and Brighton, which are 2 okay fixtures for them. But as well as that, just the 4 really nice fixtures coming up. The only problem about that is there's just no other United players in this draft, unless you wanted to bring in the likes of Greenwood or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. United are just really inconsistent at the moment. Like, they'll go and draw 2-2 against Villa, and then they'll draw 0, and then they'll go and beat West Ham. So West Ham, arguably the better team than Villa at the moment, they can beat them 1-0. I mean, I know it was at the very end of the game, but they still kept a clean sheet. So De Gea obviously got the 6 points from that game, but then gets points against, you know, Brentford, and then Villa, not as many as you'd expect him to. So yeah, very inconsistent. But there's not really any other keepers that I would have in a wildcard draft at this moment in time. Like, you could bring in Nick Pope if you really wanted to, but Pope's fixtures are really, really bad. And I know they've got like 4 games to rearrange after the Watford game coming up soon, but Burnley, yeah, they drew against Arsenal, but I just don't feel like, I think people would just be jumping on him just simply because of the doubles. And he's also 5.4 mil. You can get much better keepers around that price than Nick Pope. I just think De Gea is the better option with the fixtures that are coming up. The fact that he does double in 25, I like De Gea as an option a lot more. We've also gone for Foster as well. Again, the Watford manager did just get sacked, so whether Foster stays as the #1 at the moment or Backman comes in, we don't even know. Like, King might even drop to the bench. We just don't know. I mean, he's less likely to this weekend, this next game against who they're playing, Burnley, just simply because Dennis has got a red card, so he can't play. But yeah, King could, like, you don't know what's going to happen with the team. You know, players could come in, players could come out in terms of the first 11. But I think Foster hopefully is relatively nailed, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they don't have the greatest fixtures coming up anyway, so whatever Watford manager comes in, he's got West Ham, well, he's got Burnley, and then he's got West Ham, Brighton, Villa, United, Arsenal. You know, there are some tough fixtures in there, but, you know, we'll see, hopefully, later on, whether Foster is going to keep his place. But, yeah, if you're wildcarding, I would just, you know, go for the safe bet and bring Foster in. Plus, there's no other really keepers that you'd bring in that don't really, like, no other 4 mil keepers have a chance of playing. So Foster, I think, is just the safest bet. At the back, we have Laporte, Digne, Trent, and Cancelo. And then, of course, we have another spot there. Now, that could be somebody like Lamptey, who has some nice fixtures coming up. Doesn't necessarily play the 90 minutes, but that's just because they're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of just monitoring him. You could bring in Veltman instead, or someone, or like you could bring in the West Ham defender, Johnson, who's back now playing, I do believe. If you go onto his history, he is well, you know, he's not back playing actually at all. I'm pretty sure who's the West Ham player that's, I mean, it could be like Soufal or someone that you put there instead. I thought Johnson was back. I could have sworn I saw that he was back, but he's not back. Okay, yeah, so that could be a Wolves player there, or Veltman or something, if you wanted to go like a little bit more money at the back for someone like Semedo or somebody. But as of right now, I think most of the template is just going to be Laporte, Digne, Trent, and Cancelo. And then the other one, like I say, whoever you want to bring in there. It depends who, honestly, you have in like midfield and up front. In midfield, we do have Rafinha, De Bruyne, Bowen, and Salah. So a lot of people are kind of upgrading from Foden to De Bruyne, which is costing a lot more money. But De Bruyne is just kind of popping off at the moment. I mean, Foden should have got an assist at the weekend if Sterling could score from 2 yards out, but unfortunately he did miss. So yeah, Foden, I mean, on another day gets the assist there. But this is a triple City team. Even though they don't have any doubles coming up, I just think Brentford, Norwich, Tottenham, and then Everton are just really, really nice fixtures for City to get a lot of points from. Laporte scored again. I just feel like Laporte is a better option than Diaz at the moment. He seems to be a lot more dominant in the box, a lot more attacking in the box than Diaz. He's cheaper as well. He seems to be playing every single game. You obviously have to have Cancelo and Trent. But then the other kind of situation is because Jota isn't in this draft, you bring in Robertson instead, because you obviously have 15.7 mil in the bank. You could put someone like, I don't know, Edouard up front, Ramsey in midfield, and then you go Robertson as well instead of Digne, and then just bring in like, I don't know, maybe Matty Cash or something. If you have the money, you'd have to see. But a lot of people are jumping on Robertson now instead of Jota on wildcard, just because he is playing really, really well. He's getting assists like every single week. I think he's like double Jota's score in the last like 4 game weeks or something like that, just because of the sheer assists and stuff that he's been getting. But yeah, and then up top we have Watkins and Broja. Broja is like a staple in a lot of wildcard drafts this week. Which is interesting, but I mean, he's very cheap. He's playing really well. I mean, just strikers at the moment are just not very good. Like, there's not really any standout strikers at the moment that are scoring a lot of points. Like, Edouard scoring a few, St. Maximin scoring a few, and Broja scoring a few, but Ronaldo's blanking. You know, Kane's blanking. I don't know if he scored, but he is obviously blanking quite a bit in terms of what we're used to seeing from him. You know, Watkins is blanking, Antonio is blanking, DCL is blanking. Both the Watford forwards, Dennis and King, they were blanking. Like, all the strikers are just blanking right now. So a lot of people have decided to just go bigger in midfield and then just kind of going cheaper up front. Like, you could put the lead striker here if you really wanted to. It doesn't really help with bench boosting and stuff if you haven't used that yet. But you could put Gerald, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. He has been getting a couple of minutes with Bamford being out. Like, he played 10 against Newcastle, didn't play against West Ham, got 32 against Burnley, played the full 90 against Arsenal, 45 against City. So he is playing a little bit, but that just gives you 11.1 mil to kind of sort the rest of your team out. If like I say, there's much better options that you can have in midfield and defense that will get you a lot more points than strikers will just at this moment in time. So in regards to midfield and stuff, like I say, you could play Gerald here. You could bring Jota back in if you really wanted to, and then you have 3.1 in the middle in the bank, so you can't do that. Never mind. It's difficult trying to decide what wildcard draft you want, so you kind of have to go for like a 5 mil both ways, to be fair. Like, if you brought in Veltman, who is a cheap Brighton player, who again, Brighton have some really, really nice fixtures coming up. With the likes of, well, they blank obviously in 24, but then they've got Watford, Burnley, Villa, and Newcastle. And Veltman, you know, he's kind of back. You know, he played 76. I guess 76 isn't that bad for a player like Veltman, because if Brighton do concede at the end of the game and he does come off early, you will get those like clean sheet points if they do have a clean sheet. But you know, he's basically back to playing. A little bit risky, but he is only 4.2, so you're going to get that with those kind of players. Then you have 6.9 mil in the bank for a midfielder. I mean, that could be, I mean, what midfielder options are there for 6.9? There's not a lot of standout ones, to be fair. You've got the likes of, you know, Saka that you would want to bring in, but then Saka also blanks in 27. You like Maddison is another option, blanks in 27. Like, I think you just have enough for Maddison. No, he's actually gone up to 7. I mean, I'm sure if you have any of these players, like, because I bought Cancelo quite late, so I'm sure if you bought Cancelo early, you could just bring in. But Maddison, again, the thing about this is he blanks in 27, which also means that Trent and Salah will be blanking in 27. So that means that you'd have to be stuck with the rest of your team. You'd have no subs. And what are the likeliness that, like, Gerald plays the 90 and Veltman plays the 90 all in one game week? So I don't really like bringing in, unless you're free hitting in game week 27, of course, I don't really like bringing in a load of players that are going to blank in 27, just because it kind of really diminishes your options. Unless, again, if you're going to free hit, then you'd probably be bringing a couple more players like that do blank in 27. But at this point in time, I just don't think it's really worth it. Another option you could go is you could bring in Edouard. That's kind of the draft if you're going to bring in like another midfielder. If you go for Edouard, who again is popping off a little bit, I'm not sure how many doubles Crystal Palace have coming up, but they do have some really favourable fixtures over the next 5. They've got Norwich, Brentford, and Burnley, and quite a few players are liking the look of Edouard. Then you have 9.3 mil. You could bring in someone like Ramsey for Villa, who of course is getting game time now. A lot of people are going to be wanting to go with Coutinho as well, but Ramsey is playing like, you know, 90 every game, and well, not 90 every single game, but he's getting a lot of more minutes. So he's a nice little 4.6 option. And then you could bring in a Burnley defender or something if you really wanted to. Or you could bring in a Wolves defender. I'm pretty sure Cody is 4.7. Yeah, so that could be another option. That gives you a lot of... It gives you benching headaches because, of course, you're going to want to play like Cody some weeks when they have some really nice fixtures coming up. Like against, I don't know, maybe Leicester or someone at home. But then at the same time, you've also got Edouard, who do you play out of Ramsey. I think it's still smart to have somewhat of a playable bench at this point in time in FPL just because of COVID postponements and stuff like that. But I think this is another direction you could go. I just think the main players that you need really are De Gea, Foster, Laporte, Digne, Trent, Cancelo, Rafinha, either De Bruyne or Foden, or you could also, if you do want to target that game week 25 double up for United, you could, instead of De Bruyne, go for Fernandes, who does have Burnley next as well. So this isn't the worst idea, bringing Burnley, bringing Fernandes in for Burnley, and then he has Southampton, Leeds, and Watford. The only thing about Fernandes is when Ronaldo's on the pitch, it seems to kind of, I don't really know, hinder Fernandes, so it does hurt quite a bit. But that does save you 0.5. It maybe allows you to upgrade to a better centre-back or something like bringing in Semedo, who is a wing-back instead of a centre-back for Wolves. But, of course, that means that you do miss out on De Bruyne. But, again, City don't really have any doubles coming up, so this could be also another draft that you go with and bring in Fernandes, just because we don't know that we're getting a double for United in game week 25, but it's very, very likely because of what Ragnick said. I think he accidentally let it slip that was going to happen. So yeah, honestly, with this draft, it does give you the choice of De Bruyne or Fernandes. I do quite like this one more than like going big at the back or anything like that. I mean, I guess you are going big at the back, and you are missing Jota here as well, and you also are missing Robertson. But again, with the likes of both Liverpool players blanking in game week 27, that's the bad thing about owning 3 Liverpool players right now. If you don't free hit in 27, you kind of have to just rest on the rest of your team because your bench is already not going to be playing. If you do have Jota, Trent, and Salah, and you have to bench them all in 27 for them not playing, the rest of your team have to play. Otherwise, you're going to not be able to field a starting 11. And the rest of these players, you know, barring maybe Ramsey, will start. So I think I quite like this draft, to be fair. I think if I was wildcarding, I would probably go with something similar to this, or maybe get rid of De Bruyne for Fernandes. But I think it's got all the templates that you need in there. It's got a couple of diffies as well. Like, not a lot of people will be bringing in Cody, Edouard, Ramsey. I mean, most people wildcarding are going to bring in Salah. I think you just have to have Salah. Instead of De Bruyne, you could also go for Son as well if he's back, which would give you a little bit more extra money. But again, I'll probably wait a couple more wildcards through the international break as things change, you know, and if we do get any doubles or anything announced. But yeah, I'll probably make one like, I don't know, another one on Friday or something. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, that's going to be my first wildcard draft for game week 24. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're brand new. Are you wildcarding? Let me know. That's everything from me. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, peace.